tell my staff, my campaign, we have to wade into the waters where the sharks swim. If we're going to make a difference, we have to get out there and put ourselves on the line. And sometimes it's not well received at first, but when we engage in discussion, people then become less threatened by the discussion itself. And we're in this position where a great many people, I think, feel threatened by having the discussion. And I think it eases their minds a bit when, you know, we engage in rational conversation. And that's what we're doing, and we're out there. Can you talk to me a little bit, talk to all of us about the disparities in healthcare and where you as a governor might direct resources and funding to address those disparities?
Thank you again, Joe. The disparities in healthcare in Indiana are real. They are real nationwide, and they are hurting and killing people disproportionately on the basis of race. We've known about these disparities now for decades and decades, yet we have not made the kind of progress that we need to make as a nation or as a state. Let me just point out a couple here in Indiana specifically. Maternal mortality, Joe, is the measure of the number of women who die at childbirth or within the first year of having a child. Indiana's maternal mortality rate, deaths of mothers, is the third highest in America. It is behind Louisiana and Georgia. We are number 3 in that awful list. And we are just, in my view, ignoring that problem, far greater problem than many of those that we see on the front page of the newspaper every day, or that we hear on our TV stations or our radio stations in the day and in the evening. In my view, it should be a headline every day that's the status of mothers in Indiana. We're not that much better, Joe, in infant mortality, the deaths of infants in the first year of life. We're number 7 in the United States there. Testing rates of positivity are twice as high for African Americans. The rate of deaths for African Americans is 3 to 4 times as high as for others because of the diseases that are disproportionate in the African American population. The people with heart disease, people with lung disease, people with diabetes, all die quicker of COVID than do others. And because populations of African Americans have much higher rates of these diseases, they are now dying of COVID-19 at a disproportionately high rate.
Sadie, where do you see the community, and I don't want to just focus on Black women. I think Hispanic women are in this, Latino, the minority women. How do you see healthcare playing out in the minority communities?
I see it that we can do better. I have worked and have been speaking with other organizational leadership, and hopefully we will bring change about. I think it's a key idea, a key thought, and I think we can do much better than what we're doing. However, with the key people at the table and on the menu, we as a team are going to work to bring that forward with that. And with Joe coming on board, we'll be even much better off. We're grateful for that. So certainly the need is really at high level.
Jeannine touched briefly, momentarily, on the school to prison pipeline and how disproportionately our minority children are suffering this. And Sadie, can you tell me?
Here, yes.
Thank you. When we talk about diversity and inclusion, I'm going to assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the idea is to close down that school to prison pipeline. Is that part of the goal of your job as the diversity and inclusion director?
As diversity inclusion director, that will be part of my input. Yes, it will, because definitely we certainly would rather see our kids in school being successful rather than to the prison pipeline. That is a direction that we are having, a conversation we're having across Lafayette, West Lafayette, because we want to make sure that the focus of our children and the parents can drive that focus so that our kids can be successful. That is the goal. And we look toward that because as we look to our mourning loss of Congressman John Lewis, education is the front line of engaging our children and our students. And certainly I will have a huge plate in that and helping to make sure that schools instead of prison to pipeline. So that's exactly what part of my role is going to be, and to make sure that we continue to talk about diversity, talk about racism, and make sure our students can have that direction that all kids of all races and all colors, and mainly our African American children, will get the same opportunities and same benefits that other kids get.
So,
Sadie, what would be one step that you would take that you think would go a long way towards making that a reality or improving those things?
Trust and bridge building.
Okay. How would we do that? What would that look like?
That will look like people from all walks. We have the teachers, we have the council, we have the principals. I think for me, and have students that actually participate in some of these efforts in trying to help and assist with making them successful. We have to let them know that their voice does count and it does matter. So we need to make sure we're bringing them in and we're tuning them in, and know that it's okay to speak out when things are not okay. Mm-hmm. And it's not okay to just make sure that you settle for anything. Every child deserves a fair opportunity, a better education, and the opportunity to be able to go to college. That's important for myself and for students.
One thing that I'm always concerned about also, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I've heard, from various parents, is the graduation rates also of especially young Black males. I wish I did have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know just because I've written about it as a reporter, I've been concerned about it as a mother of 3 African American young boys. If they're in trouble more, the odds of them being able to graduate are lessened every time, like you just said. It's something that we have to be cognizant of. We have to make sure that we are hiring a diverse group of educators. We have to make sure that the people that are in those positions right now, even if it's going to take a little bit to bring in another Miss Scott Harper into the mix. Maybe there's some places that can't do it with their budget until next year. But I think just the idea that there's an awareness now that we need those positions to be filled in our schools.